So we've learned a good bit about you thus far. And one of the components that we see that is a part of your fabric and your DNA is your Haitian heritage. So tell us a little bit more about your upbringing and how your heritage has really helped shape some of your interests and passions and your worldview from an identity standpoint.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I draw so much power from my heritage. Both of my parents are Haitian. And, my connection, my appreciation stems from really doing my due diligence as to what Haitians accomplished. And beyond being the first Black republic, I really want to impress upon the audience how to make the decision, right? So let's put
Mhm.
things in historical context. Columbus in 1492 stumbled upon the Americas, right?
Yeah.
And slavery came shortly thereafter. So you're thinking like 1500s, let's say, the institution of slavery, particularly in the Caribbean, was established. So 1500s, okay? Now
Mhm.
fast forward 200 plus years, or about 200 years, and 1791, okay? The
Yep.
Haitian Revolution started in 1791. That's a couple hundred years after the institution of slavery. I call that out because psychologically, if you are indoctrinated with the mentality of enslavement, it's hard to imagine a world where you're not a slave, right?
Next.
So for the Haitians to decide that they weren't chattel, you see, they
Yep.
weren't um, the cows, and they
Right.
weren't, you know, like that type of, animal, literally,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because
Right.
that was the psychological programming that the slaves across the world, they were that mindset was embedded because that was a
Yeah.
part of how they kept people enslaved. If
Yeah.
you do not know that there is another option, you won't be thinking that there's a possibility of another existence.
Yeah.
That's really critical because Haitians took it upon themselves to come together August 14th, 1791. They came together, and when I say they came together, they had a secret location in the mountains where the slaves from different plantations came, and they didn't speak the same language all the time, right? They
Yeah.
came from different tribes in Africa. They were the descendants of different tribes in Africa, so they didn't have that tribal familiarity. Somehow, some way, they were able, as a collective, to say enough is enough. We are agreeing to unify. We are agreeing to fight. At the time, Napoleon and the French army, which was the most powerful army at the time, and
Hmm.
they applied strategy. They were able to strategically, after they had this meeting of the minds, so to speak, on August 14th, 1791, where they decided, okay, we're going to fight till we're free. And
Yep.
I call that out because the origin story of revolution and the first and only successful slave revolt stems from that particular moment in time. The
Yeah.
actual fighting didn't start until I think a week or so later, the August 22nd, 1791, August 21st. Why do I know these historical facts? Because the facts are the facts. And
Yeah.
when you're thinking about where you draw power from, where you draw the gumption and the conviction and the certainty in your mission. For me, it comes from understanding that history. It comes from understanding that my people unified a disparate group of people. Ironically, if we used a Web3 reference, you have a decentralized group of people, meaning that they don't come from the same place, they don't speak the same language, and here they are coming together to create what has now become the first Black Republic. So I draw so much power from that. And also, I have a responsibility to carry the torch of emancipation because the reality is you can not overcome issues, whether they be societal issues, whether they be individual, like self determined, restrictions. We think that we can't do this, we can't do that. You can't overcome any of that if you don't have a source of reimagining, understanding that the impossible can be possible. And for me and my Haitian lineage, that's an example of the impossible, being possible. So for me, I don't want to let my people down, and I don't, and Haitians, by the way, also, we sent delegates to the United States. Haitians fought in the American Revolution, Chicago, and please look this up. Was discovered by a Haitian. The Louisiana Purchase wouldn't have happened. Louisiana wouldn't be a part of the United States if Napoleon didn't sell it in order to finance the war with Haiti. So how is it these people, they don't have weapons, they don't speak the same language, they're in different parts of the country. How is it that collectively they could come together and make these decisions and make it happen? So whenever I get tired, Isaac, whenever I, am feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this is a Herculean effort. And when you're in the future, like I'm in the future, right? I'm building, I'm a part of a group of folks that are architecting and engineering the future. When you're looking that far ahead, I'm looking 100 years into the future. I'm looking 10 generations. Where did I get that playbook from? Why do I have that much of a focus in terms of how the world is shaped and evolved and so on and so forth? It comes from my people. So, obviously Haiti has issues. I'm not going to deny the fact that today there are a number of complications and, things that the country, my country needs to work on. But I do not want to discount the power that I'm able to draw as a result of my intimate understanding of the historical facts that led us to become what we became.
I love it. I love the prompt of where do you draw power from? I know that our audience is a range of someone that they could be an attorney, they could be a CPA, they could be an entrepreneur, could be an aspiring entrepreneur, could be a father, could be a mother. That grounding question of where do you draw power from? I think that is something all of us need to revisit. But it also displays, just as you mentioned, this appetite for facts that you feverishly, are proximate to, and which essentially gives you the level of certainty and confidence whenever you do speak about your why. It is felt first, then heard, right? Like, oh my goodness, and so and that's what we all need to have, that fire. So really appreciative for you for saying that, and the